questions will never finish. Because my own experience is when I used to ask many questions, that every question I put, when the answer came, led to another question. So questions multiply, but we must get our questions answered. If we don't have our questions answered, those questions linger in our head and they become an obstacle to meditation. You have to be sufficiently convinced, both mentally, intellectually, that it's worthwhile doing what we are doing. It's not enough that we are seeking. The mind can sway us away. Mind will always create doubts. Mind is a creator of doubt and fear. And if we rely on the mind, we live a life of doubt and fear. When we use the mind as our servant, a machine, a computer, working for us, whatever we like to put thoughts into the mind, we direct the mind to do this. Mind becomes our servant. And our soul, our consciousness becomes the master. But so long as we listen to the mind to decide things, it will cause doubt and confusion. I have seen people come to me and they say, I'm very certain about this. I say, let's think about it a little more. And then they're not so certain. It's the nature of the mind to create a doubt, because the mind cannot see everything. The mind can see so little. And mind relies for its working only on the principle of logic. It uses deductive logic and inductive logic. And when it uses deductive logic is limited to explaining something that is already known. Deductive logic, those who have studied logic and philosophy, you know, it says if this wall is painted grey, that this is part of the wall, therefore it is grey. When we do it from the beginning, we're just explaining something. Inductive logic leaves a sense of uncertainty. Inductive logic says, if this wall is painted grey and it turns around, that must also be grey. It relies on the law of probability. The law of probability works very well. Otherwise, all these casinos wouldn't make money. They make money based on two mathematical laws, which is also logical laws. The law of probability. If it is like this, it must happen like this onward also. We make predictions based on the trends. So these are the only two methods. When you look at the operation of the mind, you will see it is very limited resources. It has got very limited access to information. Its data is always limited, and we are working within that data. As soon as something comes from outside the data, the mind feels, oh, I couldn't think of it. Oh, I didn't know that. And all your argument of yesterday falls. So that is why the mind, if the mind is questioning too much and doesn't want to take a next step till the answers are coming, you could be spending your whole life in asking questions. Reminds me of a story we tell in India. In India, in the villages, there are many wells, and not all of them have a parapet or a wall around them. They are flat with the ground. At night, people are very careful not to fall into a well. One intellectual philosopher from the town was visiting the village, and he, by chance, fell into the well. And fortunately for him, the well was not very deep. He was in the water, and he was crying, oh, how did I fall into the well? A man heard, a passer-by villager passed, and he heard somebody moaning and groaning in the well. He stopped there. He said, don't worry, I'll bring a rope and take you out. He said, before you bring the rope, tell me why I fell in the well. He said, I don't know. You were walking, you probably fell, but don't you want to come out first and then ask me how you fell and look around? No, I must get proof. Secondly, supposing you bring the rope, how will I be sure you will bring the rope? And supposing you do bring the rope and lower it inside the well, how can I be sure you'll pull me out? First, answer all my questions. He said, look, I am doing this just to bring you out. I realize that you are moaning and groaning here. You don't like it in the well. I'm trying to help you. No, but you have to first convince me. Supposing you bring a rope and halfway when I'm climbing up, you drop me again. How can I be sure? He said, I think you better stay in the well. I'll go home. Some of us, when we have to go into an area unknown to us at this time, unaware of it, like going into an area where when we close our eyes, it's all dark, and we don't see anything. When we open our eyes, at least we see this world. Then we are asking questions, and we can ask so many questions. Some people spend their lifetime asking questions. I personally spent only 8 years. We're pretty bad, I think. All my teenage years were spent in asking questions, because I was a skeptic. I said, I'm just following a path because my father followed it, because my environment was like this. Had I been born in a Christian family, I would be going to church. And because of that, I went to church. I said, let me see how would I feel if I were born in a Christian family. Got baptized in a Catholic church. Got a dip in the water. And went to other places. A student with me in college said, no, Islam is the only real teaching. I said, I didn't know that. I didn't read the Quran, but I can. He took me to the mosque. I got converted. I said, I'll try everything. But all the questions, I said, unless my questions are answered, I can't believe that this is a true path because I have no experience. And unless these basic questions are answered, how did I fall into this? How did it happen? What's the purpose of life? How do I get answers to this? How can I rely on people telling me? How do I know? All kind of skeptic questions of a skeptic person like me. And then I tried all those things. Till yesterday, although I had read the Quran, English translation long ago, when I got a message from a Muslim seeker from a Middle Eastern country yesterday, he says, Subhanallah, Shukr Allah, what you are saying are the core teachings of the Quran. I was shocked. When Christians say what you are teaching is in the Bible. I said, that is true. Hindus say all the Vedantic literature says the same thing. I realize all religions say the same thing. We have made them different. We have put so many ceremonies, rituals, other belief systems outside of ourselves and make them all different. Instead of uniting into a common thing that the truth lies inside, no matter what name you give it. Instead of doing that, we are dividing. Religion has divided us, and not joined us together in unity. Every religion says we are all children of the same God. But maybe God doesn't like some children, only likes a few that belong to that particular religion. There are so many things that came up. I myself didn't want to believe anything unless I saw it. I still hold on to that view. I do not believe in blind faith of any kind. There must be some evidence. If somebody says, take one step, and then you will see the next, I'm willing to do that. I'm not going to take a blind leap somewhere where I have no idea at all where I'm going. I recommend the same thing to all of you. That in true spiritual path, there is no scope for blind faith. Blind faith is where somebody tells you something, you start blindly believing it. Yeah, it is there. Why? Somebody told me. You have no backup for that. You have no personal experiential backup for that. That's blind faith. Blind faith remains the same. Somebody said God is sitting up there, and I'm looking up, everybody looking up. I'll say, oh, everybody looking must be there. Blind faith. Instead of blind faith, have living faith, which lives like you live. Like you grow, faith should grow in the same way. Every day there should be an experience. Every day there should be something that adds to what you've known and say, yeah, now I can see one step more, one step more. That's living faith. Like we are alive, faith should be alive. I recommend that. I follow that. I don't suggest that anybody should have blind faith. But I do say, as my master said, that the questions that the mind asks should always be answered. And unless the questions are answered to the point where the mind says, okay, let's try it out, that's good enough. So I welcome the questions, and now we'll set apart a few minutes for questions, and then after that we'll go to the practical side of how verifying if the answers are right or not, which is more important.